Greetings, salutations, another sundry affair. As you can see, I dipped into my spring wardrobe and brought out my Batman shirt. See? Ta-da! I was debating between Batman and Spider-Man, but I decided to go with Batman today. And that must mean one thing. We're coming up on time, once again, for the Three Rivers Comic-Con. Now, and I've said this every show, it is the place to go to. I get all of my Christmas shopping done when I go to the Three Rivers Comic-Con. And it's usually held in June, and it'll be held in June 7th and 8th, I believe.
Correct.
Down at the David L. Lawrence Convention Center. The purpose of the con, and I'll probably get this trademark wrong, but it's to put the comics back in the Comic-Con.
That is correct.
And that's
You
why
got it.
we
You
are
nailed it.
standing in middle of, oh, look at all these comics.
You know, years ago, we used to have a Pittsburgh Comic-Con, and then it turned into a Wizard World, and then it kind of died, and now we have other shows in the area that focus a lot more on like either actors or we have successful toy shows, but like for comic creators, there really isn't a lot going on in the area. The closest big show you would have to go to would be Baltimore, for instance, right? Or in the other direction, Columbus. So we really wanted to kind of resurrect that idea of bringing comic creators, because Pittsburgh is loaded with great comic creators. It has been for a long time. And we have some living legends here in the city that why wouldn't we want to celebrate that? So we have dedicated half of our entire exhibit hall. So 20,000 square feet is creators. We mostly focus on comic writers, creators, artists, inkers, things like that. So 30% of that, half of that section, are guys that have been published by either Marvel or DC. So if you go into our website, you can actually see like our featured section is huge. And for a show our size going into our 9th year, that's a pretty big deal. So, and every year it grows, and every year the numbers grow, and every year the guest list gets better and better. We're always excited about who we can get next year, and it's kind of cool. And we go to other shows because we vend at shows. We're vendors first, right? And to build a show from the perspective of vendors, of we want to build a show that's good for that side too.
And one of the things that I like, you have your big names, you have your Marvel and your DC guys, but there's also a spotlight on, and like you said, a lot of these guys are local guys who I guess the best way to say is they're still independent because they haven't been picked up by any of the big people yet. But there are some really good comics there, and it's everything from a simple single comic to full graphic novels that these people have already produced, and you could see that work there, and some of it's just amazing.
And I wouldn't even say local really, as more regional, because we have guys, we'll pull guys in from upper state New York, we'll pull guys in from Detroit, we'll pull them in from down in Tennessee, all over the place, like all over the Northeast really. So it's kind of a cool melting pot of these creatives. And the other thing is that some of the local bigger name guys, or even the medium name guys, they know other creators from the area that they just want to hang out with. So like I have a guy coming in from California because they know somebody here that they just want to spend the weekend with. So they bought a table, they're coming out, and they're just going to hang out. So it's kind of a cool, like we kind of always talk about it as kind of like the family reunion, like planning the family reunion every year. And that's kind of the vibe it is, because it's also very family friendly. There's stuff for everybody. Like there is a kids costume contest, there's an adult costume contest. There are caricature artists where you can get yourself drawn as that kind of thing. Like Howard Bender does that kind of stuff, and he used to work for Marvel and DC, and that's now what he does, and it's great. And there's guys that work for Archie, so you can pick up some family friendly stuff there too. It's awesome. So
a lot of those people who don't normally come to mind, but exceptionally talented, and it's great that you get to see these folks and see what they're doing, and give you a whole different avenue when it comes down to comics and graphic novels. And it's not only that, John, but every year you guys partner up and do something that has a charitable side to it as well. So it's more than just turning the spotlight on these artists. It's being able to benefit people in the community and what have you. And this year is no exception.
Absolutely. Every year we've partnered with the Extra Life charities. Brian Brickner's campaign through Extra Life benefits the Pittsburgh Children's Miracle Network. So it goes directly to the local branch of that. So we do a great giant art auction. So we have this big art auction. So if you go back toward the concession stand, you'll see an art auction of art pieces from people that donated through when they checked in, stuff from leftover from years past. And then Saturday night of the show, we do a charity drink and draw where all of the artists go to Bill's Burgers in the Weston. And they'll have a couple drinks and they will draw some stuff, and Sammy Castillo will run the room and she will have them draw the weirdest stuff. And it's hilarious. It's a lot of fun. And then people can either bid on them there at that show or at that event, or they can, the stuff that's not bid on gets thrown in the auction on Sunday. And then you can bid on more stuff. I mean, I've seen some really cool stuff, like Koa Beam did this huge double page, it had to be like a 2 foot wide, or even almost 3 foot wide, like giant spread of the, I want to say it was like a Justice League, like 2 years ago. It was huge. And my buddy Andrew did a Godzilla piece when we were at the Macy's, and that went for like $300, I think. It was crazy. But you can get some really good deals on the art pieces out of the auction too, and there's some really cool stuff in there. There's signed pieces, there's paintings, there's all kinds of stuff. So
And those gatherings at Bill's Burger are interesting to say the least. Speaking of interesting, if you're going to highlight comics and you're going to highlight creatives and talent, that means you got to pull some people in. And we're going to talk about that next. Of course, one of the highlights of the Three Rivers Comic Con are the amazing number of artists that show up, set up tables, and actually offer a lot of different services. It's more than just, you know, here's my comic book, I'll sign it for you. So, John, go ahead and tell us a little bit about who's showing up this year.
awesome. Well, this year we have a couple first-year guys. I'll get to them as we go through the pile. The first one, a big name, Greg Land. Iconic name through Marvel and DC. I have a couple of his Marvel works here. This is Domino #1 that he worked on from a couple years ago. Here's a Spider-Woman 5, which is one of my, all this stuff's out of my personal collection. This is cool, and I'll let you hold the graded one.
Sure.
So this is the first time Nightwing wore this black and blue suit in Birds of Prey #8. These are both my personal copies. One is graded, one is not. So another a service we also offer at the show is grading. So we'll have actually somebody there from CGC who will facilitate services. So you can get stuff witnessed, send it off to get graded, which they encapsulate like this. This happened to be from CBCS, who was there a couple of years ago. Great stuff. But Greg did that Birds of Prey run. It was great. Repeat. This is Trish Fornster. Feral just ended, I believe, or is just about to end. Stray Dogs was the one before that. She also worked on tons of Disney stuff and My Little Pony. Her art's great. Last year she did a great sketch of our dogs for my wife, and I gave it to her for my anniversary. Lots of bonus points. It was great.
There you go.
One of our hometown heroes, Ron Friends. A couple years ago, I had him do a sketch. One of the other things that you can get done are personalized sketches. So I brought this blank Action Comics 1000 sketch And I just said, Ron, I want you to do a Superman for me. And I just gave it to him and said, go and do your thing. And this is what I got. And it was awesome. And, I paid for it. And Ron's a great guy.
Yeah, he does good stuff.
This is this is a key book that Ron did. This is signed by Ron and also Jim Shooter. This is the first appearance of Black Suit Spider-Man in Amazing Spider-Man. Then we have guys like Don Simpson, who created Megaton Man. He did our beer label last year with Megaton Man's 40th anniversary. Then we have some local people who have been published, who do a lot of cool cover work, and then they do their own independent stuff, but they don't work on they don't do interiors for major stuff. They do a lot of cover work for major stuff. So Sora Sung is one of those people. So Sora has done stuff like Lady Death, which is great.
Yeah, that's good.
She also does her own book called Carnal Confessions, which is awesome. She's also done Vampirella, a couple other things for Dynamite. She's currently doing a bunch of different Vampirella covers. She just did a big signing weekend at Lady Death at Coffin Comics. It was great. Here's a sketch I got from her of Squirrel Girl. I actually have a cool collection of different people doing the Great Lakes Avengers. You'll see a couple more here, or one more here in a minute. This is a cool metal print I got of her that she did of Emma Frost. I'm a big Emma Frost fan, so.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, right? And that's actually just a piece of metal that is printed on. And then we have guys who do cool graphic novels, like my buddy Dennis Robinson, who does a book called Lycan. This is volume 1. He has 3 volumes out now, and it's about the world's first werewolf. I'm pretty sure you met this guy.
I did at the last con. He was a great guy. And if you're into werewolves like I am, you definitely want to stop by his table and talk to him.
You can't miss him. He's wearing usually a hockey jersey that says Lycan real big on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we have another local creator, Tom Scioli, who got to work on Fantastic Four Grand Design for Marvel. This was kind of a composited version of the history of the Fantastic Four, done in 2 issues, which was great. That came out a couple years ago. Another brand new person that's never come to the show, who's kind of a legacy person from the late 80s through now, is Ali Garza. So he worked on things like Gen 13 with Chris Claremont, which, if you know that name, he worked on X-Men forever. Batgirl, he worked on this run with Cassandra Cain, and he also worked on Deja Thoris. Oh man, so many other things. Young Justice. There's a ton of things he worked on. I actually was trying to remember all of them while pulling books the other day. It was rough. Another great local guy, Dave Wachter. This is his current book that's just finishing up called Uncanny Valley. He also worked on things like Punisher, Ninja Turtles. He did, his Punisher run just wrapped up a little bit ago. He did Planet of the Apes. He did a lot of good stuff. Iron Fist. So check out Dave's stuff. It's phenomenal. He got to work with Larry Hama and great iconic writers. And then we have Dan Mendoza coming. This is a sketch I had Dan do a couple years ago when he was here. This is Clea from the Marvel Universe. It's Doctor Strange's wife, if you don't know who that is. You'll see her in whatever the next Doctor Strange movie, whenever the hell that actually comes out. But this is Dan's take on Clea in his style. He does a book called Zombie Tramp. That is his big thing. He owns Still Ill Comics out in Detroit. And he's great. I've known Dan for a really long time.
Is that considered anime?
It's sort of an anime style. He also does a book called it's called Psycho Baby something Psycho Baby. I can't remember the whole title, but it's very cool. His take is it's almost like a Grindhouse meets anime vibe to it, and it's very horror anime, with tongue-in-cheek humor. So it's all over the place, but it's very Dan. If you know Dan, it's very him. So it's kind of cool. Bill McKay is another guy coming. This is another one of those Great Lakes Avengers sketches I had. I had him do Flatman. who is basically Mr. Fantastic, but he's flat all the time. He doesn't unflat. And Bill has done a lot of covers. Both him and Dan and Sora all have worked on Lady Death. They've done a lot of stuff for Coffin Comics, stuff like that. Another local guy who has worked in the industry for a long time is Pat Olive. He's another big name. He's worked on Spider-Girl, Thor Corps, Rough Riders, Star Wars, Thrawn. He just did the Thrawn run. He did Secret Wars Battle Worlds, Catwoman, like so many things.
His table's always crowded.
Yeah. He has done a lot. This is a sketch I had him do a couple years ago where I walked up to him and I said, I want you to do I have a weird request, Pat. And he said, hit me. And I said, okay, I want Teddy Roosevelt cosplaying as Beta Ray Bill and Beta Ray Bill cosplaying as Teddy Roosevelt because he's drawn both of those characters. And he's like, can I mail this to you? And I said, yeah. So I gave this book to him, and about a week later, he mailed it back. And this is what I got, and it's probably one of my favorite pieces. It usually hangs on my wall because it's awesome. Robert Hack, who has worked a lot with Archie. So this is actually a variant that we had made for, I think, our second year we did the show. So this is when we partnered with Kennywood. So this was the Archie gang goes to Kennywood. So if you notice, like there's, the Phantom and the spaceship, and Noah's Ark's in the background there, and they're all kind of hanging out at Kennywood, which is cool. He also did all the art on Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, the TV show, like the TV show is based on. His version of that was the one that they based the TV show on, I should say, the Netflix show. So if you watch that show, all that intro art is his art animated.
Nice. Yeah, nice.
And you can tell when you look at that. So, so I had a couple more here. Sean Gabarin, who is another local guy, but he's worked for Scout, a couple other places. This is his horror book called This Little Piggy. I believe there's 3 issues out of this, and it's another horror book. He does like some really great horror writing. He also did Black Betty with Action Lab, which is I believe he's coming out with a new volume of that soon. Don't hold me to that, but I'm pretty sure that's true. Vito Del Sante, who owns Stray, for Full Court Press now. He's also worked on Superman, a couple other things. And lastly, I have Wayne Foucher. This is a Spectacular Spider-Man 1. He is an inker. He has inked tons of things. He currently, I think the last thing I remember seeing on the wall that he has worked on was Star Wars Mandalorian. But he has worked on Spider-Man, Batman, all kinds of things. I have a couple pages of his. I actually have a page out of a Spider-Man book that he has inked at my house. I have a couple Green Lantern pages that he's worked on. I think they were out of Sinestro. But it's great. And he inked the poster that we did for this year, which is right there.
Well, let's talk a little bit about this poster. First off, I should probably say that for those of you who may not be in the comic world, the inker is the guy in between the penciler and the colorist. I got that right?
Yep.
And so the penciler does the page, hands it over to the inker. He adds all the fine line and details and shadows, and then the color guy adds all the, in case you were wondering where that fits, that's how that all fits in. I've got to say something. In all the years we've been doing a show for the Three Rivers Comic-Con, I must admit that I've looked at some of the posters and I went, I have no idea who this character is. That did not happen this year. As soon as I saw this poster, I went nuts. I called John right away and I went, this thing is great. I can't believe he did this. Some of these guys look awfully familiar. Like this guy looks familiar.
Yep.
He probably should have been here today, but he's not.
Nope.
Yeah.
He's not.
We'll get on him when we talk about the beer. And one of those guys looks strangely like you. Isn't that funny?
It may be. It may just be me.
So you want to tell us who's all in that poster?
So sure. So this is my boss Todd. That is me. That is Justin, and that is Scott hanging from the light post. They are Justin and Scott are the two guys that help me put the con together, and Todd is obviously our boss. He's the guy that finances the whole thing and allows us to do this every year, and does help a little bit. He mostly runs the beer party. But anyway, the poster came about. So obviously it is a swipe of Godzilla King of Monsters #1 from Marvel. As soon as we put it out, we've had people going nuts on it.
If Godzilla's on the poster, you know this is going to be, ready for it, a monster of a con. He's not here, but the spirit of Todd just permeates the entire atmosphere. And when we talk about the Three Rivers Akamacon and Todd, we have to mention beer, okay? Every year, the con has a unique beer that is brewed specifically for that con, and the packaging is always something interesting. What's on store this year?
So this year we've partnered with Shoe Brew, again, up from Zelienople. Zach and his team have been phenomenally great with us. We partner with them a lot. And this year it's going to be called Snow White Stout. And we've also partnered with Zenoscope Entertainment to use their Snow White character, Celine, from their Grim Fairy Tales. And Greg Land is drawing it, and he drew her as kind of like a polygirl.
Okay.
So it's Celine with her glasses, holding a big mug in like a polygirl style. And it's...
Yes, this
it's,
is not Rachel Ziegler. This is
right. But it is it's awesome, and I can't wait to share it with everybody. I'm very excited.
And can you tell us anything about the beer? Like one year it was like a maple flavor, and
This year, I believe it's a coffee stout again. I believe.
oh, so it's like a dark, like
It's still going to be it's always a heavy stout because
Yeah.
we try to make it so that we can age it every year.
Mm-hmm.
But you can also every year buy, we call it the Beers Through the Years package.
Okay.
And we limit it to 10 because we're running out of some of the beers. You can see it on the website. You get one of every year's beer. So this year you would get 9 beers, plus you would get your weekend admission. But you can't get the beers at the show. You have to go to either the beer release on Friday night or the drink and draw Saturday night to get them there.
and the cosplay thing is, I think, just from the years I've been down there, it seems to be augmenting, and a lot more people are getting involved with it.
Absolutely.
Anything big coming up this year?
So this year we have 4 featured cosplayers. 2 of them are shooting with our house photographer, Jeff Zoot. Samurai Jill and Sarah Spector are both going to be our featured cosplayers that are shooting with him. And then we also have Commander Snips and Captain Cash. Captain Cash was the Daredevil that was on our poster last year. Then we also have cosplay, like, tribute groups that do charity work.
And one of the things that I did last year was the cosplay people, they talked about how they put their costumes together, and those panels are just a part of the panels that are available during the con. What else do you have cooked up for those panels this year?
Well, right now we're still kind of in the trying to figure out which panels are definitely going to happen this year. Jeremiah Ion, who moderates all of our panels, like, he does a great job of doing that and keeping everybody engaged. And he helps me he kind of looks at the guest list and kind of talks about, like, what should we do with these guys. And he also helps me run the cosplay karaoke events we do. So usually when we sit at a cosplay karaoke event between songs, we're looking at the list and going, okay, who can we put into where? So we kind of work on that.
I think they were really interesting. I was lucky enough that I had enough time where I could go into those panels.
Well,
So-
I remember Wayne talking to me. I bought a page out of one of the Star Wars books that he had inked, and he would tell me that, he had to send the pages to Lucasfilm and Disney to get approved, and there were a couple panels that were wrong because they were not accurate to the show because it was a Mandalorian page, right? So he actually had to then basically paste over the piece with a new piece of art, to make it correct.
Yeah.
So that I was like, why is this weird? And he's like, oh, well, this is what happens. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. But I never thought that would do that. And you would think that the artist would have caught that, or it would have been caught in the artist section, not the inker side. But, it's weird that it only gets caught after his step, not the other way around.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, you learn a lot.
So basically, I guess what I'm saying is, don't think you're going to see everything in one day. That ain't going to happen. The convention is 2 days. It's the 7th and 8th. And if I remember correctly, are you still doing the thing where you can get like a VIP pass or something, and then that includes something on Friday night too?
So
Is that still going
we
on,
don't
or-
we don't do that anymore. But
Okay.
there is the Friday night beer release, so you can go to the beer release on Friday night. So if you want to, if you don't even want to go to the con and you just want to go to the beer release, you can do that too.
Now, where is that?
That is also at Bill's Burgers in the West End. The guys at Bill's Burgers, shout out to the Larry, the manager there. Him and his crew are amazing. They treat us really well. They're all a bunch of nerds. They're great. And
it's real close to where
it
the
is.
convention is.
And
You
the
throw a
service there
football
is
in
great. The food's great. I was
Yeah.
just there the other day. Had the sliders. They were amazing. The chili cheese fries. Anyway.
All that healthy
So
stuff.
yeah, right. So we're usually in the back. So just come toward the back. And so Friday night at 7 o'clock, we release the beer. So you can come in and you can just buy cans of the beer. Greg will be there to sign all the cans. And then Saturday night during the drink and draw, he will also do a second appearance of that. So
Nice.
while the drink and draw is going on, he'll also sign more beer labels. So
Nice. That'd be
you can
great.
do that, and you can watch people do the drink and draw. You can just kind of hang out. And they usually do a discount on Saturday night or during Saturday and Sunday if you come in with your Three Rivers wristband, your admission band.
Yeah.
They give you a discount on your food.
Yeah.
So
It's a good deal.
Yeah.
It's 2 days, an awful lot of fun. It is June 7th, June 8th at the David L. Lawrence Convention Center. When you're down there, make sure you stop and talk to John. And when you see a real tall guy, that'll be Todd. Make sure you say hello to him too. Tell him you saw the show. It's a great place. You'll do all your Christmas shopping, believe me when I tell you. And we'll see you this year at the David L. Lawrence Convention Center, June 7th and 8th for the Three Rivers Comic-Con. See you there.